What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm gonna give you guys an update of my garage. All right, guys, we are here at PureFusion. I parked the cars, lined them up for you guys to see all the, different things I got going on. Obviously, you guys know about the SV. This car is by far the most epic car I've ever owned and probably ever will own. I've driven some pretty crazy, wild cars, including other V12s. This car with the titanium test pipes on it, titanium straight pipe, is like nothing I've ever driven. With the doors, everything from the doors to the sound. This car is, you don't even have to be going fast in this car to truly appreciate what this car really is. This car is an experience. This car isn't, there's a lot faster cars than this. There's a lot more beautiful cars than this. The interior is not the greatest in terms of, supercars, but at the end of the day, nothing in terms of pure experience compares to this SV, even including the SVJ, which I had an allocation for too, actually, the Roadster and the Coupe. But this car, I couldn't part with this car, so I turned them down. So Jesse is gonna explain his experience driving this car actually not too long ago. How long ago was it? A week?
2 weeks,
2 weeks ago? Okay, go ahead, Jesse.
Well, I thought I was gonna die because it was about the overwhelming, the visceral experience of this car. I've driven both, actually, this and the Huracan, and Dan said I don't know, at some point in time, even doubling the horsepower of this car, it's still not as exciting as the Aventador. And I honestly got to say, I have to agree. The single clutch is way more raw. It feels like more of an experience. Where this car is actually relatively easy to drive. The Huracan, this is it's actually really hard to drive. It's oh, it's an automatic, flappy paddles. It's incredibly hard to drive. It's
probably because it's so wide.
It's so wide.
Its footprint on the road
is. You can't see out of it. My head's against the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's so cool and it's so raw, and it beats you up.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and there's nothing that sounds like it.
Yeah. Next car we have is my twin turbo Performante. So in contrast to my SV, this Performante here is way more crisp. I mean, everything from the throttle, the steering, the suspension, even feeling the road, you can totally tell why this car is one of the fastest cars on the Nürburgring, and that's not because it's the fastest car, it's because it gives you so much confidence to enable you to be the fastest. The paint job on this car is really hard to explain unless you see it in person, to be quite honest. It's probably one of the nicest colors I've ever seen on a car, this matte yellow. I never thought I'd be a yellow car owner, to be quite honest, but this car is just amazing. Not as loud as this car, so to really experience what you experience in the SV, you have to be really getting on this car here. You really have to you really got to be pushing limits to what I feel is get the same experience as the SV because of just the vibration, the sound, all that stuff of the SV. You got to start pushing limits. But this car, you don't know what fast is until you drive a car like this. It's almost like the fastest roller coaster you've ever been on. That first drop, that's what you feel when you get on the throttle on this car. It's like nothing I've ever felt before. I've even been to drag strips, and this car is, words can't explain how fast this car is. It's unbelievable. Okay, so Jesse's gonna explain what he felt, or how he felt driving this car after driving the SV, what the differences were and things like that.
I technically drove this a couple of times before the SV. Actually, I haven't driven it since I drove the SV. It's way easier. The double clutch, it engages smoother. It actually probably inspires way more confidence, like Dan was saying. The car is smaller. I fit better in it. It's just...
Which is odd. The car's smaller, but you're safe.
Okay, narrower.
Yeah.
Narrower, less of It's less cumbersome on the road.
Yeah.
But just it's a little taller.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of like windshield rake and everything.
So Jesse's 6'5". I'm 6 feet.
So I just fit better in it. It's easier to drive, but at low speeds it's easier to drive.
Yeah, the double clutch, I didn't touch on that either. The double clutch, Jesse, touch on the double clutch.
Well, the single clutch is like, the best way to put it is if you take your foot off the brake and you're in gear, this car doesn't move. You have to feather the throttle until the clutch bites and engages. This car, it basically drives like an automatic where it will creep. So it's just, it's a difference of, this is just much easier to drive at slow speeds. It's much more forgiving than if you hit any type of boost in this car. It's like nitrous and Fast and Furious 1. Like it's like tunnel vision. It's the most beautifully terrifying thing you'll probably ever experience.
The double clutch is lightning fast. It's unbelievably quick.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys know and probably seen on Instagram and my my other YouTube channel introducing the car. The twin turbo setup with the titanium exhaust is just it's like words can't explain like how wild that is. Okay, moving on, we have my 97 Viper GTS. So a lot of people don't really realize this, but my dream car growing up actually wasn't a Lamborghini. It was this exact car, a 97 Viper GTS. Why do I love this car so much? I love the body lines of this car, and I love when you come back and see this car from the rear, how wide, just the stance of the car, the dominance of on the road that this car possesses is like nothing I ever saw growing up. So growing up, I didn't see Lamborghinis on the road. I never actually even saw one Lamborghini growing up, but I would occasionally see these cars. And that was a car, the Viper was literally, this exact Viper is literally the car that I had on my wall growing up. This was my dream car. You know, the one thing that I can say about my dream car is that if I would have driven my dream car or had a chance, it probably wouldn't have been my dream car, because this thing is by far the worst car I have ever driven in my entire life. The seating position in this car is god awful. You're literally sitting in the seat, but you have to sit sideways because of the size of the engine and the transmission coming through underneath the dash and in between the console. You have to sit sideways, and you're in like this narrow little hole, and you feel like you're eating the windshield. It's unbelievable.
The other thing, I don't know if you can show this, talk about the clutch.
Oh, the clutch travel? You want me to get in there?
Well, no, the clutch is, look, see how the clutch, normally there's a dead pedal there. This is what Dan's talking about.
Yeah.
Everything shifted over. The clutch, your clutch foot is right against the edge of the car.
The clutch awkward. And the travel for the clutch is literally, it's got to be a foot long. So I'm 6 feet, and when I'm actually in the car, I'm literally like, my leg is 90 degrees, and to push in the clutch, I'm literally like almost, and then I like almost like toes to push it in. It's unbelievable. It's like the worst. This is like the worst thing to drive. However, and no traction control.
No ABS.
No ABS. It gets hot because the catalytic converter literally runs right here. So you're in this heat box in the summertime, and the AC in this isn't the greatest either. You know, the engine, it's a 8-liter V10, produces a ton of heat. But it's like, again, I don't know what it is, even though it's awful. It's an awful car to drive. The fact is, I love driving this car, and I feel like I love driving the car too, because not a lot of people could probably drive this car. It's a 6-speed manual. Again, no traction control, none of that stuff. So you actually feel like you're driving a real car. It's unbelievable, like the experience in this Viper GTS that you get from being able to drive it. Because you got to think, like, not a lot of people, number one, know how to drive stick, and not a lot of people probably could be capable of driving a car like this, because it's so unorthodox. It's so even difficult to drive, to be quite honest. But honestly, I love the car. The clamshell hood, the way that this thing looks, with this hood up even is really cool. I really like it. I even like the bubble here, where you know, these bubbles here for the driver and passenger. I'm pretty sure Dodge did that. Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong. They needed to raise the roof line just in that area to be able to allow people the room to wear helmets for the track. So, and it wasn't tall enough. They couldn't get the seats down, or they couldn't get the roof line to be right with it looks cool. It's a cool looking car. I really like the car. Like I said, it's my dream car. All right, next in line we have a 2003 Mustang SVT Cobra, and it's got some pretty unique options that are pretty rare. Obviously, you can see it's a convertible. It's got the Jesse. You want to actually explain the options that this car actually came with?
Okay, so this is a Mustang SVT Cobra, like Dan said. This is actually a 10th anniversary edition. So in 1993, Ford created SVT to replace their SVO division. They launched with the Fox Body Cobra and the Lightning, the original Lightning. So 2003 was the 10th anniversary, where 10th anniversary comes from. 10th anniversary cars are the only cars that have the red inserts in the seats. They have 7-spoke wheels, which is normal Cobras at 5-spoke wheels. And then inside, it's a couple of the steering wheel's a little different. So you have these bolsters, and it's like carbon fiber leather. You get the red in the door cards as well. Carbon shit, like all the leather in here, it's all like carbon inspired. And then this car has incredibly low miles and is like mint and stock. That's why Dan wanted it. The most interesting thing is if I take out this floor mat here, it still has the 10th anniversary floor mat, which is like most 10th anniversary cars, they're gone. Like they're just nowhere to be found. So that's pretty cool. The car is stock, it's mint. It has a MagnaFlow catback on it, that's it, and it's awesome. It's probably one of the cleanest examples left.
You were also mentioning too, Jesse, that in the front, this is kind of like a unique scenario going on with what's that?
The pony?
Yeah, with the pony.
Yeah, a lot of people, so a lot of people, lesson here, a lot of people think that Cobras all came with a snake. They actually all came with a pony in the grill, and snakes were dealer installed. So this is the only pony on the car, apart from the windshield, which has a pony in it. That's how you know it's an original windshield as well. But everything else, the airbag cover says Cobra, seats Cobra, so that's the only pony on the car.
Badge here.
Yeah, everything else is a snake. So what a lot of people do is they take this badge, a version of this badge, and put it in the front.
Yeah.
It's really subjective what you like, but a little fun fact for you, they all came with ponies.
All right, guys, next car we're gonna talk about is my 96 Impala SS. So this car is very unique. I grew up watching this car and seeing it in certain movies, like, you know, All About the Benjamins with Ice Cube and things like that, or movies like that. It's just an extremely unique, very iconic car for the 90s. And also, this was probably, not even probably, this was the last true Impala SS that Chevy made. And this car is extremely clean. We actually traveled a good amount of a good way to get it. I have more paperwork for this car than I do probably for even my 2 Lamborghinis. This is by far probably the best example of an Impala SS that I'll see in a long time. Jesse, you want to talk about a couple things with this car?
Sure. So, like Dan said, this is like the cleanest. There was a 2,000 mile one on Bring a Trailer last year. That's likely going away and never seeing the road again until it gets sold. I don't know. This is a really clean example. Still has miles in the single digits. But the 96 is pretty much anyone you ask is going to say the 96 is the most desirable. They made them from 94 to 96. This is based on the Caprice, the B-body platform. So the reason the 96, first of all, the door mirrors are different. Maybe you can put a picture of what the 94s look like. But the 96, probably the best looking mirrors. And then inside, 94 and 95 cars had a column shifter, and they actually had a digital dash, but they had no tachometer. 96's got this floor mounted shifter here, and they also have a tachometer. So I guess this is kind of maybe one instance where you don't want the digital dash. But otherwise, this thing's huge inside. It's comfy. It's pretty cool. They're very interesting cars.
It's a boat.
It's a massive boat.
This is like the biggest car.
And
like it's bigger than a truck.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable.
Maybe something you don't know.
Yeah, it's throwing the gas.
This is where you fill up gas on an Impala SS. Just make sure you don't.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Behind the license plate.
Looks funny when you're filling it up.
Yeah. Super cool though. Very different.
Cool.
But such an iconic car. Very 90s. If you guys look at the, if you guys take a look at even just the buttons inside here, it's such a 90s car. You know, one of my first cars, actually my first car was a 98 Cavalier, and like I'm pretty sure it was all the same. Like this is exactly the same, exact same buttons. Yeah, all in all guys, very, very cool car. I really like this car. This is probably one of the most comfortable cars I've ever driven. The car is lowered about an inch, which gives it even a better stance. It looks really cool. It's just a little bit more meaner on the road. But I actually have all of the stock exhaust. It's got, what does it have?
It's just got
Borla?
a Borla,
It's got some Borla. What's
kit,
that?
Standard Borla kit from the time.
Yeah, so it's got Borla exhaust and it's lowered an inch, but I have all of the original parts that came with the car. Very unique car. All right guys, the next vehicle that I have is my latest purchase, got maybe about a month ago, a couple weeks ago, is a 2015 Harley Davidson Sportster 48. So, a couple things. I don't have a bike license yet, so that's kind of something funny that people may or may not know. I've always wanted a bike though, and this is probably one of the coolest examples of a bike that I've seen in a long time for just something that is very bobberish. That's what I wanted to build, is a bobber looking bike. One of the reasons why I went with a 48 is because a lot of the parts on the bike were already blacked out, and I like the thicker, meaty tire in the front. Couple other things, I like the style of gas tank that came stock on the 48. It's a little bit more of like a peanut style shape. So what came with the bike and what didn't? So Harley ape hangers came with the bike. The Screaming Eagle intake came with the bike. These pipes came with the bike. I can't remember what brand they were. The original owner told me what brand, but I don't remember. It came with Vance and Hines on the bike originally. So what we put on the bike was this fender here. The stock fender, it essentially came down quite a bit. It had this bulky light fixture on the rear end of it, and I wanted something that was just a little bit cleaner, you know, less kind of filled with junk. So we took the fender off. I had it painted at Metro Collision here in Windsor. Thank you so much, Dino, I appreciate it. He really hooked me up. And we put lowering springs on it, which we're gonna have to compress a little bit more. Okay, a couple things we stripped from the bike. We stripped all of the guards from the belt, all the belt guards off the bike. Flipped the mirrors. The mirrors were, you know, they come stock flipped up, so we actually took the mirrors, brought them down, which I think looks way better. That's about it. Took the front fender off, actually. Other than that, that's about it. So a couple things I am gonna do. I'm gonna get a tank lift kit, probably increase the height of it 3 inches. I'm gonna relocate the ignition, probably, you know, obviously I'm gonna do a standard ignition relocate. And other than that, that's probably it. One thing I am thinking about doing that I'm a little bit unsure of is if I can't get these springs to drop low enough, I'm just gonna get a strut and get this tire really hugging the fender here. I really like the lowered look, but I also do kind of like this look. The other thing that we did too is painted the tires. I think it gives it a really cool look. We've got a little bit more fine detailing. We've got to scrape out the paint that flowed into, like, out of the lettering, but I think it adds a really cool retro old school look to the bike, and I think it's a sick bike. It's super loud, very aggressive looking. It's awesome to ride, super easy to ride too, not too big, exactly what I wanted. I'm probably going to be getting different lights for the turn signals here, and I'm on the fence about what type of lights to get in terms of signal lights for the back. I don't know if I want to go with a strip light underneath the fender or if I want to add really small LEDs here where the original lights went, but we'll see. Got to get my license first. Okay, last but not least is my daily driver. This is a 2019 Jeep Rubicon. I never wash it, as you could tell. It's a Jeep. I actually go to a lot of, I'm in and out of a lot of construction sites for my real estate business, and I needed something that was, you know, four-wheel drive and that could handle a little bit of dirt and mud. And I've always loved Jeeps. I've had a Jeep for probably 10 years. I traded a 2008 Wrangler for this Jeep here, and now I daily drive this thing. Couple things I like about the Jeep. It's great in the wintertime. It's great in the summertime. Obviously, as you guys can see, there's a lot of room in here. I could put whatever I want in here. You know, yesterday, you know, Jesse and I threw a table in here and, you know, hauled it away. Bunch of chairs. I've had a stove in here before. So, you know, you could put a lot of things in this Jeep when the back is down. It's not as big as, you know, a cargo van, obviously, or, you know, a Suburban, but it does the job great. And, it's a great car to have in the wintertime, in the summertime, and any other time of the year. It's a great car. The one thing that is not great about it is gas mileage. As you can imagine, this thing is like driving a brick down the road, and especially even on the highway, going at speeds, the tires get like really bouncy. So it's kind of all over the road when you're, you know, when you're cruising down the highway and everything. But just for as a daily driver, I love Jeeps. I absolutely love Jeeps. I was thinking about getting a lift kit and doing a lot of stuff to it, but on my previous Jeep, what I did was I lifted it 4 inches and put 35s on it, and the thing drove absolutely horrible. I did not change the gear ratio in the Jeep, which is definitely something you want to do when you start really increasing tire size, but you know, I was going to do that with this Jeep. This thing could probably handle stock 35s, no problem, but you know, I figure I got enough cars to mess with. I'm not gonna mess with my daily. I want my daily to be very convenient and not a pain in the ass to drive, so I don't want to start getting into lift kits and making my daily driver, you know, not conveniently daily anymore. All right, guys, that is my garage update for you. If you like the video, leave me a thumbs up, and if you have any questions about any of the cars, leave a comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. 10th anniversary SVT Cobra Mustang. Mustang SVT Cobra. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. 2003 SVT Mustang Cobra. Is that right or no? Mustang SVT Cobra. I don't know. There's too many acronyms. I don't know what the Cobra Mustang. I don't know.